At first glance, this lesson may look administrative, almost like the educational version of please read the instructions before using the machine. But in course design, orientation is not bureaucracy, it is part of quality. A strong online course is not just a pile of lessons, assignments, and videos. It is a learning environment. And major course quality frameworks treat course overview, getting started guidance, clear expectations, measurable outcomes, alignment, navigation, and learner support as core parts of a good course, not decorative extras. That matters for one simple reason. Students do not experience a course the way a teacher does. You, as the creator, see the logic because you built it. The learner does not. The learner only sees what is visible on the page, in the lesson order, in the instructions, in the activities, and in the expectations you communicate. If those things are unclear, even a smart course with valuable content will feel confusing, heavy, or badly organized. So this lesson comes early because we are practicing what good online courses actually do. Before we ask you to design a course for your students, we need to show you the design logic of the course you are currently inside. Now let's talk about what this program is really trying to help you do. This program is not just about understanding course design theory. It is not just a technical walkthrough of subschool. It is not just a motivational program for teachers who want to go digital. And it is definitely not one of those educational experiences where you collect 20 noble ideas, note thoughtfully, and then abandon the whole project in a folder called Course New Final Really Final. This program has one central purpose to help you design and build a real online course in subschools that solves a clear learner problem and is strong enough to launch, test, improve, and grow. That sentence is doing a lot of work, so let's unpack it. When we say design, we mean you will make choices deliberately, not randomly. You will decide who the learner is, what result the course promises, what belongs in the course, what does not belong, what students need to practice, and how you will know whether learning actually happened. When we say build, we mean you will not stay at the level of theory. You will create real course assets, outcomes, structure, lesson plans, activities, assessments, assignments, and actual course components inside Subschool. When we say a real online course, we mean this is not an abstract academic exercise. By the end, you should have something usable, not just notes about what good courses are supposed to look like. When we say a clear learner problem, we mean the course must be built around a specific need, not around a vague topic. Biology is not a problem. Prepare for the biology final with structured practice and feedback is much closer to a real learning problem. And when we say strong enough to launch, test, improve, and grow, we are not chasing mythical perfection. We are aiming for a first version that is coherent, useful, and ready for real learners. That logic is consistent with backward course design. You start with the destination, then decide how you will know whether students reached it, and only after that do you choose materials, activities, and tools. This is also why the program is project based instead of theory first. Course creation is a design discipline, not just a body of information. You can understand the vocabulary of online teaching and still fail to build a good course. You can know what learning outcomes, alignment, learner engagement, and assessment strategy mean and still end up with a weak product. That happens because online course design is a practical craft. Like teaching itself, it only becomes real when decisions are made under constraints. You are not working in a vacuum. You have limited time, a real audience, a real subject, real content boundaries, a real teaching style, a real level of energy and patience, a real business model, and a real platform. That is why each module in this program gives you two things. First, it gives you understanding. You need principles, language, and a clear sense of why some decisions are stronger than others. Second, it gives you evidence of progress. At each stage, you create something concrete. This protects you from two common traps. The first trap is theory without production. You learn smart ideas, agree with them, maybe even highlight them in a color that makes you feel academically dangerous, but you do not actually build anything. The second trap is production without design. You record videos, upload slides, make assignments, and call it a course, but the pieces do not support one another. The learner outcome is vague. The activities do not match the promise. The assignments test something different from what you actually taught. The structure feels like several tutoring sessions wearing a trench coat and pretending to be a curriculum. That is exactly why strong course quality frameworks care so much about alignment. The important pieces of a course have to support one another. The outcome should say what students will be able to do. The assessment should check that outcome. The activities should prepare students for the assessment. The materials should support the activities, and the tools should support learning and interaction. So, the project model is not there to make the program feel hands-on in a shallow marketing sense. It is there because hands-on is the only honest way to learn this work. Now let's look at how the program is structured and why it is structured this way. The sequence follows the actual logic of building an online course. Not the fantasy version where people begin by filming videos because holding a microphone makes them feel productive. The real sequence is more disciplined. You begin with orientation and scope. What are you creating? For whom? What first version makes sense? Is this a mini course, a pilot, a cohort-based course, a self-paced product, or a hybrid? Then you move into audience and problem clarity. What is the learner struggling with? What do they already know? What do they misunderstand? What would count as progress from their point of view? After that, you move into outcomes and assessment logic. Before you choose content intelligently, you need to know what students should be able to do by the end and how they will demonstrate it. Outcomes are not paperwork, they are a filter. They help you decide what belongs in the course and what should be cut. Next comes course architecture. This is where you decide how the learner will move through the course. What comes first? What needs practice before the next step? Where do learners usually get stuck? What needs feedback? What can be self-paced? And what benefits from live support? After that comes lesson design and learner experience. This includes explanation, examples, task flow, clarity of instructions, interaction, accessibility, pacing, and support. Only after those decisions do you get to production and platform assembly. This is where you create lessons, upload materials, build assignments, and structure the course in sub-school. By this point, production becomes easier because it is guided by decisions you already made. You are no longer improvising the curriculum while opening upload windows and pretending that chaos is creativity. Then comes quality review. This is where you test the course the way a learner would experience it. Is the starting point obvious? Are the instructions clear? Are the tasks aligned to the outcomes? Will learners understand what success looks like? And finally, you move into launch and iteration. The first version of a course should not be treated like a finished monument. It is a teachable product. You launch it, learn from it, improve it, and make better decisions in version 2 than you ever could in version 1. That is why the program is structured in this order, because good online courses are not built content first. They are built purpose first, learner first, and evidence first. Another useful way to understand the program is to think in terms of artifacts. An artifact is a concrete piece of work that proves something has been designed, decided, or built. By the end of this program, you should not simply have learned about course creation. You should have a chain of working assets that support one another. That usually includes a course concept, a learner profile, a course promise, course level outcomes, module level outcomes, a structure map, lesson plans, activities, assessments, assignment criteria, materials built in sub-school, a quality review checklist, and a launch plan. Why does that matter? Because progress is very easy to fake. You can spend hours writing notes and still avoid real decisions. You can watch lessons and feel productive while your actual course remains vapor. You can polish your title slide for 45 minutes because it feels safer than clarifying your outcome. Artifacts make avoidance harder. They force decisions. For example, I want to teach writing better is not an artifact. It is a floating ambition. But by the end of this course, students will be able to write a 5-paragraph argumentative essay using a clear claim. Structured evidence and revision against a rubric is an artifact. It narrows the scope, shapes the lessons, determines the assignments, and makes evaluation possible. Now let's get to the heart of this lesson. What we mean by a successful course. Most teachers define success too weakly. They say things like, I finished the videos, I uploaded everything, I worked really hard, the course looks professional, or I finally launched. None of those things is meaningless, but none of them is enough. In this program, a course is successful when it meets several kinds of criteria at the same time. A successful course has to work for the learner, make sense as a learning design, and remain realistic for the teacher to operate. First, a successful course solves a clear learner problem. A course should exist for a reason the learner can immediately understand. It should answer not just what is this about, but why should I care? A weak promise sounds like this course covers middle school algebra. A stronger promise sounds like this course helps students who keep getting stuck on equations and word problems build the core algebra skills they need for class tests. Second, a successful course has measurable outcomes. It should be clear what students will know, do, or improve by the end, not in a vague inspirational sense, but in an observable sense. Instead of understand math better, think solve one-step and two-step equations. Instead of feel more confident in writing, think write a structured essay introduction. Third, a successful course is aligned. The outcomes, assessments, activities, materials, and tools should support one another. In a well-aligned course, students are not blindsided by tasks they were never really prepared for. They feel the course makes sense even if they never use the word alignment. Fourth, a successful course is easy to enter and navigate. Online students need to know where to begin, what the structure is, what is expected of them, how to find materials, where deadlines live, how to get help, and what happens next. Every moment of unnecessary friction costs attention. If students keep guessing, digging, or decoding vague instructions, motivation drops. Fifth, a successful course teaches through activity, not only explanation. A course is not successful because it contains information. It is successful when it moves a learner from explanation to performance. Students need to identify, compare, solve, draft, practice, revise, reflect, and apply, not just watch and nod politely while learning goes nowhere. Sixth, a successful course sets clear expectations and support boundaries. Students need to know how discussions work, how feedback works, when you reply, what counts as participation, and what to do when something goes wrong. This helps students and it protects you from quietly turning your scalable course into another exhausting full-time job. Seventh, a successful course is sustainable for the teacher. A course that students like but you cannot maintain is not strong design. Sustainability means the feedback load is manageable, communication promises are realistic, and the support model matches your price and your actual capacity. 8. A successful course is good enough to launch, not perfect enough to worship. Perfectionism is one of the great destroyers of useful educational products. The first version does not need to be flawless. It needs to be clear enough for learners to enter, coherent enough to follow, useful enough to justify taking, and stable enough to generate feedback. And finally, a successful course can be reviewed and improved. A strong course gives you useful signals. Where do students hesitate? Which instructions confuse them? Which lesson needs another example? Which task takes longer than expected? A course should be strong enough not only to teach from, but to learn from. A simple example makes this clear. Imagine a tutor creates a course called Master Fractions Fast. A weak version might include 10 long videos, lots of explanations, random worksheets, unclear instructions, and one big final test. The tutor feels proud because there is a lot of content. But the course can still fail because the learner problem is vague. The lessons do not build in the right order. The activities do not support the promise. Students do not know where to begin. And the final test checks skills. The course never really trained. A stronger version would start with a clear learner promise. It would include measurable outcomes, a logical sequence, visible structure, practice that mirrors the skill, clear support expectations, and a format the tutor can actually sustain. That second version is not better because it is longer or prettier. It is better because it is designed so as you move through this program, do not judge progress by time spent alone. Time is a terrible liar. You can spend 6 hours and still avoid the hardest design decision, or you can spend 40 minutes making the one clarification that unlocks the whole course. Judge progress by the quality of your decisions and the strength of your artifacts. Ask yourself, do I know who the learner is? Do I know what problems this course solves? Can I state the outcome clearly? Can the learner understand what success looks like? Do my lessons build toward that success? Do my activities and assessments match the outcome? Is the course easy to enter and follow? Are my promises sustainable for me to deliver? Those are the real indicators of progress. Not I made more slides, not I recorded something, not I spent all weekend working on it. Output volume is not the same as instructional quality. And this lesson applies to you right now as a learner in this program. You are succeeding when you move from vague intention to clear design. You are succeeding when your course becomes more specific, more coherent, more teachable, and more usable. You are succeeding when you stop making decisions based on panic, perfectionism, or imitation and start making them based on learner need, evidence, and structure. That is the standard, not I finished fast, not my course looks professional, not I made a lot of content. But this, my course makes sense, teaches something real, supports the learner properly, and is realistic for me to run. That is a far better definition of success than most course creators ever give themselves.